So, I continue. When it comes to Pastor MacArthur's views on Torah submissiveness for believers and the ongoing value of Judaism as religion, what I've learned is to simply dismiss this side of Pastor John while continuing to uphold him in earnest prayer and high esteem. So he and I would differ when it comes to some of those issues when it comes to messianic versus mainstream Christian theology, Christianity versus, say, Messianic Judaism or Torah observance. Pastor John MacArthur is going to voice an opinion that's, and we're going to see this here in a moment as we break into some of this. We won't finish all this tonight. This section here on John MacArthur is a little bit longer, so I don't think I'll finish it in the 20 minutes I'm allotting for this part. But you're going to find that if you listen to his theology, if you follow his ministry and his teachings, that he's really kind of following the mainstream popular Christian evangelical theology on those main central points, about who Jesus is, the relevancy of the Bible, understanding the identity of God and our relationship to Him. But when it comes to what we're talking about, is the Torah still relevant for our lives? The parts that most Christians would identify as making you look like a Jewish person if you keep them, such as Sabbaths, kosher, dietary issues, keeping the festivals, wearing tzitzit, putting mezuzah on your door, engaging in studies on the sacrifices and the temple and maybe even praying from a siddur. Some of those things, you're going to find that Pastor MacArthur is going to take the position that all of those things were kind of either for a different dispensation or they've just simply been fulfilled by Jesus. The New Testament teaches a higher and a better way, the law of Christ versus the law of Moses. All of those typical that typical rhetoric that you're used to hearing, what we might call the typical Christian narrative. Pastor MacArthur is going to fall in line with that. But again, I say I highly recommend his preaching and commentaries to any and all alike. I mean, he's thorough. He's one of the few Bible preachers out there that has actually written a complete commentary on the complete Word of God, as in every verse has gone underneath his interpretive pen and he's provided some insight. I mean, that's quite a feat that you don't do overnight. I mean, you can't even put that really together in a year and give it all of the due diligence. I mean, he's been kind of putting that together for several years. So an entire a Bible on the entire commentary, a commentary on the entire Bible. I'm sorry. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good accomplishment. I've got a commentary on the entire Torah. I do. It's available on my website at takesthetorah.com. All 5 books of Moses, Monday, Genesis through Deuteronomy. I've got a commentary. Now, it's not on every single verse, though. That's the whole thing. It's a lot of times it's just an overview. I skip a lot of sections. I just hit the highlights. But John MacArthur has a commentary on every single verse of the Bible. I mean, wow. All right, let's continue. I go on to say, now let us examine his thoughts on this matter. Of course, we're talking about Matthew 9:14 through 17, Judaism v. Christianity. This is a study on that particular passage, those anecdotal details that Yeshua left for us, and what do Christian pastors think about that. Pastor MacArthur likes to develop his main points by employing what I like to call a, quote, well-developed running start, end quote. And therefore, I've included quite a bit more material than usual from this transcript of his sermon. We're going to look at one of his sermons here that are available for free on his website, on his ministry site. I'll quote it here in a moment. So what I did is I included a transcript of a sermon, and I did this so as to fairly represent the context. I don't want you to get lost in and just maybe the brevity of a quote that I might provide. I want you to be able to back up and see where he's coming from. And typical, if you've ever listened to any of his sermons, he likes to provide a lot of what appear to be anecdotes leading into main points of his sermon, a lot of like real life story details, talking about real life issues and then things like that, getting really kind of personable with you, warm and cozy with his listeners, so that they can better relate to him rather than sounding just more like a university professor who's spitting out facts.